Imagine getting a text from a loved one that they're on their way home, only for them to never show up. Imagine the panic you'd feel when you call to see what's holding them up and they don't answer the phone. Well, that's exactly what happened to the family of 16-year-old Susana Morales, who was making the short walk back to her house after spending time with her friend. Her mom decided to make a report to the police after she never made it home, only to be met with an extreme lack of urgency. Instead of taking her mom's concerns seriously, Susana was considered to be just another runaway teen who police couldn't be bothered to look for. As days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, it took an extreme turn of events for investigators to realize they had made a big mistake. In this video, we'll be going over everything we know about this case and try to answer the question, what happened to Susana Morales? To do that, we need to go behind the headlines. On the evening of June 26, 2022, Susana Morales, who went by Susie, left her home at around 6 p.m. to hang out with some friends. Living on Santa Ana Drive in Norcross, she only had to make about a 10 to 15 minute walk to where her friend lived in the Sterling Glen apartments on Windscape Village Lane. It's a walk she had taken countless times before, and at 16 years old, her mom, Maria Brand, trusted her to go alone. Susie would spend about 3 hours with her friend just having normal teenage fun. She texted her mom at 9:40 p.m. to tell her she was about to start walking home. Even though it was pitch black outside, the streets were well lit, and no one had any reason to think she'd be unsafe. However, when 10 o'clock came and went, Susie's mom, Maria, started to get a little worried. Maria tried to call Susie's phone several times, but strangely got no answer. This wasn't like her daughter at all, especially if she said she was about to head home. Maria decided to call her other daughter, Jasmine, to see if she had heard from her. Jasmine is about 3 years older than Susie, and even though she had recently moved out of the house and on her own, the three of them were still very close. Jasmine tried to call Susie as well, but when she got no answer, she just told her mom to try to not worry. She said maybe her phone had just died or she fell asleep while hanging out with her friend and would be home in the morning. Jasmine also reached out to a boy named Axel, who Susie had recently started dating, but he hadn't heard from her either. Maria tried to sleep that night, but her maternal instincts kept telling her that something was wrong. We all know how young love is with teenagers. Susie and Axel were always texting and Snapchatting, and she had even FaceTimed him that night to tell him she'd call him later after she got home. So the fact that Susie wasn't even getting into contact with Axel made things even more strange. After Jasmine called Axel to tell him that Susie never came home, he became so worried that he went and woke up his own parents to tell them. I think this just goes to show how out of character it was for her to just ghost everyone, but things would only get more concerning from there. When Susie had still not made it home by the morning, Maria was starting to become absolutely frantic. She called Jasmine at work to tell her that Susie wasn't back, which is when she started to become extremely worried as well. Jasmine got permission from her boss to leave work, and she headed over to her mom so that they could make a police report and get help finding Susie. Axel arrived at the house as well, and they placed a call to 911. Police showed up at Maria's house between 9 and 10 a.m. that morning, and by that point, Jasmine had already gathered some concerning evidence to show them. When trying to locate her sister, she pulled up the Life 360 app and could see that between 10:07 and 10:20 p.m., Susie was walking down Singleton Road. This was the road she would normally take to get from her friend's house in Sterling Glen. Strangely, just a few minutes later, her location showed up on Oak Lock Trace near Steve Reynolds Boulevard, which was in the complete opposite direction of where she should have been. The other concerning aspect was that Jasmine had gotten what is called a crash alert in that general location until her phone either died or was shut off. The app Life 360 uses motion sensor to tell if someone has been in a car wreck, but it can also go off if it detects some form of rapid acceleration, hard braking, or some other impact. Sometimes it gives false alerts, but if Susie were just casually walking down the street, this would be extremely concerning. It also indicated that she may have gotten into a vehicle. However, all of the evidence apparently wasn't concerning to the Gwinnett County police, and for some reason, they told Susie's family that they needed to wait 48 hours to report her missing. Now, I just want to take a little pause because this is important. Not only is this incredibly infuriating, it's a blatant lie. It's a myth that you have to wait any number of hours before reporting someone missing, especially if it's a child, and especially if there are suspicious circumstances. In the video we recently covered about the woman from DeKalb named Mersha Victor, her family was able to report her missing the very next morning after she didn't come home. She was an adult, and the circumstances seemed much less suspicious than this. So the fact that the police department perpetuated this lie to Susie's family is just wrong, and many people believe that it had something to do with the fact that her mother Maria spoke Spanish. There was an obvious language barrier, and it's almost like the police just didn't feel like dealing with the situation and didn't take it seriously at all. I mentioned before that just not coming home was extremely out of character for Susie, but even if it wasn't, she was still only 16 years old. She was a child, and any child not coming home, not answering their phone, and not getting in contact with their boyfriend and having a potential crash alert on their phone should have raised all of the red flags to the police, but for some reason it didn't. The police told Susie's family that she could have just run away, which was honestly like a verbal slap to the face to Maria, as if she didn't know her own daughter. Susie had never run away. She had no reason to. She was a happy girl, didn't get into any trouble, and when a mother says, "My child would never do that," police at least need to consider that they may actually know what they're talking about. Susie was an extremely bright, funny, and talented girl. She loved to do her hair, makeup, playing piano, guitar, and was constantly singing. She was the prankster of her family and always made everyone laugh. She didn't get in trouble with the law, she didn't skip school, she was just a good kid. Susie was a junior at a school called Meadow Creek in Gwinnett County, which may have been another reason the police were biased toward her and stalled so long in investigating her disappearance. Online and in forums on websites like Reddit, many people use the tacky and unimaginative term of Ghetto Creek when referring to the school. Over the years, there have been reports of gang activity, fighting, drug usage, and so on, and there tends to be a lot of blanket statements regarding the ethnicities of the students and the high turnaround rate of the staff at the school. What many people don't mention is the fact that the school does a lot of great things too. Just recently, they won a national robotics competition. Many of the student athletes have gone on to sign with big name colleges. Their culinary program has gone to national competition, so it's not like that school is just filled with lost causes. But many people think that when the police learned about Susie going missing, they just thought, oh, here we go, another runaway from Ghetto Creek. But that type of thinking is ignorant, dangerous, and not what happened with Susie Morales. Since it was obvious that the police weren't going to help find Susie, at least not for 48 hours, her family decided to take matters into their own hands. Maria, Jasmine, and Axel began walking the route Susie would have taken, as well as going to the area where her phone was last pinged. They were initially thinking that she may have been robbed or hit by a car. Along the route, they were looking to see if any homes or businesses had cameras that could have captured Susie walking, and asked anyone if they had seen her. They were able to find a neighbor on the street with a Ring doorbell camera, which captured a video of Susie wearing a yellow tank top, light blue jeans, and white Crocs at 9:40 p.m. She was headed in the direction toward her house, which proved that she had in fact left her friends after she texted her mom. The distance from the neighbor to Susie's house would only take approximately 1 minute, so whatever happened to her had to have happened within an instant. Susie's family took this footage to the police station, but again were met with disregard. On Facebook, we'll see many local police departments put out flyers for missing and even known runaway teens, but the Gwinnett County Police couldn't even issue a simple flyer or bolo. Her family was left to print flyers, search on foot, and do all the investigating themselves. They even had to beg to get the news to issue a statement, where she was still being referred to as a suspected runaway.
2 weeks have passed since 16-year-old Susana Morales from Norcross was last seen. The family says they saw her the morning of July 26, and that afternoon, she went to a friend's home but never returned back to her house. As you can see here, she was last seen wearing a yellow tank top and light-colored jeans. Gwinnett County police say they have labeled the case as a runaway, but her family disagrees. They're now asking the public to be on the lookout in any way they can.
After this, the local Spanish news station Telemundo Atlanta decided to help, and their involvement finally got the police to acknowledge that she was missing nearly a month later. In a statement, they said that they had exhausted all leads and didn't have any reason to believe that Susie was in any danger or being held against their will, which is just a pretty wild statement, because if a child has disappeared into thin air, I'm pretty sure that's indicative that they are in danger. But anyway, they finally called on the public to come forward with any leads, but unfortunately this effort would turn out to be too little, too late. Months passed by with Susie's family and friends being in sheer agony, not knowing where she went, what happened to her, and even if she was okay or even alive. Maria, Jasmine, Axel, and many more of Susie's friends spent literally every single day for 6 months going out and looking for her. They went into the woods along the route where she would have been walking to see if they could find any scraps of clothing, her cell phone, but they always came up empty-handed. Finally, after 6 months, in January of 2023, an investigator decided to reach out to Maria to get more details about Susie's disappearance. He asked if he could collect a DNA sample and obtain Susie's dental records, just to have on file if anything were to be found in the future. Coincidentally, these would need to be used relatively quickly. On February 6, 2023, an unsuspecting man was mudding at Drowning Creek near Highway 316 in Tequila. The off-road vehicle he was driving was really loud, so when his phone started ringing, he turned it off and stepped out to take the call. He started walking around in the woods while on the phone, which is where he made the horrifying discovery of what appeared to be a human skull. From there, he immediately called 911, who made their way out to the scene and roped off the area. The rest of the remains were subsequently taken to the medical examiner's office, which were soon determined to belong to 16-year-old Susana Morales. In addition to Susie's body, the police executed a grid search of the wooded area surrounding where she had been found. That's when they located another crucial piece of evidence, a Glock 19 handgun. Shockingly, after looking up the serial number on the gun, they discovered that it actually belonged to a Doraville police officer named Miles Bryant. Coincidentally, Miles had reported the gun stolen the same day Susie was reported missing. According to him, someone had broken into his truck and stolen his military ID, wallet, and gun. Because normal police officers just leave their guns in their cars, I guess.
I don't know what time, man. I went running around here. I did a bunch of stuff yesterday. And I came back, I went to the store and everything. I had it at the store, and I came back, I went running everything, and then my girl was finna leave, and I was like, I got my wallet. I don't know where my wallet at. So I can't find my wallet. And then this morning, I worked Doraville. I was getting my dry cleaner. I got to work tonight. And then I looked on my floorboard, and the my Glock 19 holster is on the floorboard. And my Glock 19 is always together, you know? Right. So, I hate to say it. I think I left my... They ain't smashed the window or nothing. I fucked around, left my door unlocked. The biggest... I know, man. I get on people all the time. I take the inner auto report. But I just want to at least put that, you know, on GCIC.
So that's fine. Yeah. It was in there when you went to the store last night, correct?
Yeah, it was. I don't know.
You know?
I don't know. I looked down this morning and saw my holster. I said, I can't find my wallet. My holster's there. My gun and holster is never separate. You know, we the people conceal holster. If I take it, I'll take the holster. I don't carry it free. So.
The other glaring coincidence was the fact that Miles just so happened to live in the same apartment complex where Susie was visiting a friend the night she disappeared. So before we go any further, let's just take a second to learn a little bit about who this Miles Bryant guy really is. 24-year-old Miles Bryant worked in the Army National Guard as a deputy at the Forsyth County Jail and then as a Doraville police officer. He was working as a courtesy officer for the Sterling Glen apartment complex where he lived during the time Susie disappeared. Even though it seems like Miles dedicated his life to serving and protecting his community, that could not be further from the truth. It seems like Miles just used his status as an officer to be an absolute creep. In December of 2022, during the same time Susie was missing, a woman who Miles had known since the 5th grade turned him in for stalking. Even though they knew each other as children, she never really considered him boyfriend material. After one awkward date, she decided not to hang out with him anymore, but Miles didn't want to take no for an answer. For over a year, he could be seen on the woman's neighbor's Ring doorbell camera, showing up at her door unannounced, wiggling her door handle, putting his ear to the door to listen inside, and even kicking in the door while she was at work. She finally took the footage to the police and told them that she was afraid Miles would try to sexually assault or even kill her. And apparently the police department didn't reprimand him for this and just told Miles to leave the woman alone. On February 13th, 2023, Miles Bryant was arrested and charged with concealing the death of Susie and falsely reporting the crime of someone stealing his gun. His charges were soon upgraded to kidnapping, attempted rape, and malice murder. The trial began on June 5th, 2024, and started with an emotional testimony from Susie's mother, Maria.
What went through your mind at that moment when you heard?
Pasó por su mente en ese momento cuando escuchó. No quería eso.
Yo no quería esa noticia.
I did not want that those news.
Yo la esperaba.
I was waiting for her.
Y la sigo esperando.
And I'm still waiting for her.
The jury heard from her sister, boyfriend, and friends who were able to paint a picture of the amazing person Susie was, as well as the events that took place leading up to her disappearance. They also discussed how they investigated on their own without the help of the police department. There was an emotional testimony from the man who discovered Susie's remains in the woods, and it's obvious that the poor guy is traumatized. I can't even imagine coming across a body like that, but if it weren't for him, Susie may have never been found. Miles' ex-girlfriend testified that the night Susie disappeared, they had been arguing, prompting him to leave their apartment. She also stated that when he returned, there were strange scratches on Miles' truck. The jury also heard evidence about Miles' phone pinging in the location where Susie was later found. After her disappearance, he reportedly searched things like, how long does it take a body to decompose, and how are you ID'd by dental records? There was evidence that Miles had somehow gotten the phone number of the friend Susie was visiting the night she disappeared and tried to call her from a blocked number during the months she was missing. The friend also claimed that Miles had approached her and Susie in the past asking if they needed a ride. The medical examiner testified that since Susie's body had been decomposing for 6 months and was reduced to skeletal remains, her cause of death could not be determined. Due to this, they could also not be for sure if Miles actually sexually assaulted her, which is why he was only charged with attempted rape.
There's no more testing I can do because what I need to see is not there. And there's no bringing that back. I mean, her neck structures, they're not there. Skin, flesh, it's not there. And it's not that not only can I not tell, no other pathologist is going to have access to this because it's not there. She has decomposed to the point where I can't establish this. I can say I'm very suspicious, and that's where I have to leave it because it's based on the circumstances. And so that's how I came up with my cause and manner of death. By convention, unless I have, again, being consistent, unless I have physical trauma, I tend to call things undetermined and say why. But then we'll go into detail in my report about what my opinion might be. And again, based on my experience, 30 years as a medical examiner with this type of situation, again, young female, deceased, no obvious trauma, and decomposed well away from where she was last known to be alive. This is different from someone who may have dementia, live in the area, and then shows up dead in the woods somewhere. You know, it's very much dependent upon the circumstances, and these circumstances are very suspicious for homicidal violence, but I can't prove it because of the condition of the remains.
Prosecutors believe that Miles either forced Susie into his car at gunpoint or somehow used his police badge to coerce her. They believe he then took her into the woods to sexually assault her before taking her life. During the trial, a detective said that on the way to the police station, Miles could be seen uncontrollably shaking and his breathing was elevated. The prosecution played a 3-hour interrogation video where Miles denied ever having contact with Susie or dumping her body in the woods.
Did you kill her?
No.
Were you with her when she died?
No. Why did you dump her body there? I didn't dump her body there.
Were you trying to help her and she was already dead when you found her?
No.
When he said he felt like he was being painted as a perp, the detective said, "We aren't painting you. You painted yourself. You can just read your body language and know you did this. I was just hoping to give this family some closure. You don't represent this badge at all or this country." Ultimately, at the end of the trial, Miles was acquitted for the attempted rape and false report charges, but was found guilty of kidnapping and malice murder.
Mr. Bryant, on count 1, malice murder, I sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. Count 2 and count 3, I believe, vacate as operation of law. Count 5, I sentence you to 12 months, which is the maximum I can, consecutive to your life without the possibility of parole.
On June 12, 2024, Miles Bryant was sentenced to life without parole. At the hearing, he spoke briefly and said, I just want to apologize to everybody and the victim's family. That's it.
Mr. Bryant, do you want to say anything?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to say anything for? Go ahead.
No, you can speak from there.
I just want to apologize to everybody and to the victim's family. Sorry, that's it.
That's it.
Which I suppose is his asinine way of taking accountability. The murder of Susana Morales was a senseless and horrifying act, committed by a man the community should have been able to trust. Susana was an incredible daughter, sister, friend, and girlfriend, and her life was cut short by someone who clearly thought he was above the law he was supposed to uphold.
Susana was my little sister. First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody for working on this case. All we ever wanted was justice for what happened to her. So I want to thank her for that. I mean, nothing will ever bring her back to this day. I still hope that I'll see her again. Sorry.
There's nothing to be sorry about.
I just ask that he receives the maximum sentence because no family, no mother, no father, no one deserves to go through this. And no one deserves to go through what he went through all these years. These 2 years, I'm sorry.
Jasmine, I'm so sorry you lost your sister. I'm so sorry you lost your sister.
This tragic case also highlights how some law enforcement agencies refuse to take loved ones' concerns seriously. I truly hope that the Gwinnett County Police Department steps up next time someone goes missing, especially when it's a child. Susana deserved to have the whole state searching for her immediately, and more importantly, she deserved the long, happy life that was stolen from her by Miles Bryant. As we remember Susana, I hope her family can hold on to the beautiful memories they shared with her. At least they can take some form of comfort in knowing that justice has been served and that Miles Bryant will spend the rest of his life behind bars. This has been Joshua John with Behind the Headlines, and until next time, stay safe.